Hello.
Hi.
We got the whole crew here.
We got a house full.
John Carlton and Diane Dehoney, welcome in to a Wednesday edition of Around 10.
Thank you all for having us.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Well, we're happy to have you here because we're talking about the Frankfort Heritage Lecture Series.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting ready to
Kick off again.
kick off again.
Yep.
And you'll always have a lot of interesting things to talk about when you're here. So why don't you just get us started?
All right. Well, I first want to thank Paul Sawyer Library for being our host, and then thanks to you all and the State Journal for doing some amazing publicity for us. It's really helped out. The first two lectures, last season was our kickoff, October and December, and we've had between 50 and 70 people show up, which is outstanding, especially considering what was going on those weekends. Mm-hmm. So we want to thank you all for that. This time we are kicking off February 10th, and we are going monthly after that. And our first speaker, February 10th, is Rhoda Ferraro. It says incoming director, but she's actually been installed as the permanent director now of the Keeneland Library.
Okay.
And we're talking about the heart of the turf, racing's black pioneers. And this has kind of been a personal interest of mine, knowing Frankfort history, and there are topics that have not been adequately researched or really told. The story has not been told. Frankfort had an exceptional horse history. There were racetracks starting in Leestown, on Home Street, Forks of Elkhorn, Wood Lake area, all over the place, all the way like 1785, I think, was around one of the first ones. And what Keeneland is doing is talking about African Americans' contribution to that. People may not, I think her lecture will talk about 80 African Americans that played a role, whether in breeding, training, racing, or caretaking the farms or horses, and talk about their heritage, their history, their legacy, particularly around the Lexington area. But what a lot of people don't know, that Frankfort, a man named Eli Jordan, trained the first Kentucky Derby winner.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he was a resident of Frankfort and worked at Fleetwood Farm on the Louisville Turnpike. And he also trained Isaac Murphy, who won 3 Kentucky Derbies. He won 3 Kentucky Derby races, 4 American Derby winners, and 5 Latonia Derby winners. And he also trained another man who won hundreds of races in his brief career. So there's a lot of Frankfort history that people don't know, and I wanted to pick something that was going to start telling that history.
That's awesome.
Our motto is Kentucky Distilled, and what is Kentucky? Agriculture, bourbon, and horses.
Right.
So that's a part of our story that really hasn't been told, and I wanted to get that done. And it just so happened that she was working on this exhibit that ended, the permanent exhibit at Keeneland Library ended in December, and now it's a traveling exhibit. And it comes with a accompanying book that she worked on. By the way, she's worked at the National Racing Hall of Fame. She's got a background. So she's got a book. It'll be $10 cash at the library, so you can buy it and get it signed there. Nice. And so that's our first speaker.
Well, I'll add a little something there, John. I happened to notice this morning that the exhibit has now been installed at the Young Library, the WT Young Library on UK's campus. So if somebody comes to the talk and they're interested in going out to see that, that's where it is right now. So.
Well, I mean, the Keeneland Library is such an amazing resource, and to have that so close, when you have to, or when you want to do research about a specific topic, oftentimes it's, at this place in Maryland or New York, and it's like, to have all this stuff right down the road, it's so great, and they're great partners. And I would encourage, if anybody has any interest, to reach out to them, because I've done that in the past and they've always been super receptive and helpful. So
Absolutely.
just wanted to get that shout out.
Sure. So that's February 10th, and these are at 1 o'clock at the library on second Saturdays of the month. And then our next one is March 9th, and the speaker is Richard Taylor, our very own Richard Taylor, and he's going to be discussing the Taylor family's influence on the founding of Frankfort and Leestown. A lot of people don't know that the Taylor family, everybody's familiar with Colonel E.H. Taylor. He's not going to be talking about him, but he will be talking about his relatives. Pretty much all of the Taylor family came from a man named James the First and James the Second. And we've got Hancock Taylor, who did the first survey of Frankfort. You've got Commodore Richard Taylor, who built the cabin that Freddie Johnson at Buffalo Trace shows off all the time.
Okay, yeah.
And then Commodore Richard Taylor had two sons named Richard Taylor, and they distinguished them Hopping Dick Taylor and Black Dick Taylor. Hopping Dick had gotten injured during a war with Indians, and then Black Dick had a darker complexion, so they just distinguished between the two of them. At the time, it was interesting. Everybody wanted to name your first child after yourself. Well, Commodore had two wives. His first one was Richard Taylor, and sometimes, to make sure, in case your first child didn't make it, you named your second child also after yourself.
Well,
so you get there. So he's going to be talking about, and of course, then the Taylors are also related to the Lees, who Hancock Lee and Willis Lee, for whom Leestown was named.
Okay.
So he's going to be talking about that, and of course, who better to talk about the Taylor family than Richard Taylor?
Richard Taylor.
Then we've got on
And that's on March 9th.
March 9th. And April 13th, we've got Mac Cox, who is a researcher of early Kentucky furniture. He's got an extensive background. He's been featured in and actually worked for now the magazine Antique. And his collection was featured in there. What he's going to be talking about is exploring early Frankfort, Kentucky furniture, particularly from 1795 to 1820. So this is during the pioneer era where people came here. You had to chop your own wood and make your own furniture before the advent of railroads and steamboats.
Yeah.
So you didn't have really international and interstate trade, so you had to make your own furniture. You had your own version of art.
Yes.
And so there is some very unique Frankfort furniture. I think when we think about Frankfort furniture, we think about the penitentiary chairs, or, those are far more modern than what he's going to be talking about.
Okay. Wow.
So there's a little bit of industry and a little bit of art in his talk. And then May 11th is our next one. And this is going to be William Andrews, Dr. Andrews, who is the acting director and state geologist of the Kentucky Geological Survey. He's going to be talking about the geology of Frankfort. A lot of people don't realize that Franklin County is a part of a piece of land that is from the Ordovician period, 440 to 510 million years old. It's a third of Kentucky is a part of this. The rest of Kentucky is not. And so that makes us unique as far as the geology that can be done here, the paleontology that can be done here. And he's going to be talking about how the limestone and shale influences the streams and the quality of our water, the quality of our crops.
Absolutely,
all of that plays a role, and that's what he's going to be discussing.
Okay.
And another interesting fact too is, back in the day, every state office was in Frankfort, including the Kentucky Geological Survey, and because it was here, Frankfort also has a unique situation with a type of limestone, and it's called the Trenton or Brannan limestone. And so while the Kentucky State Geological Society was here at the time, that's what it was called then, a lot of research was done on Franklin County, and those collections were then sold to Kentucky State University. Then Kentucky State University sold them to museums across the world. So a lot of museums across the world, geological and natural science museums, they're examples of Trenton and Brennan limestone came from Frankfort.
Okay.
So
Wow.
yeah, there's a lot of interesting things there.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, we have Tressa Brown, who is the Historic Preservation Coordinator for the Kentucky Heritage Council's Kentucky Native American Heritage Commission. And she's going to be giving a first talk of 2 talks. We won't tell who the second speaker is going to be because that's our next season. But basically giving an overview of Native American history in Kentucky.
Right.
And there's a lot of people don't realize, we were all kind of taught the false narrative of the dark and bloody ground, which basically said that natives came here, but they never lived here. Well, we now know that they've been here pretty much since 13,000 years ago.
Wow.
In Kentucky.
Wow.
We know they've been in America for about 26,000, 28,000 years, but in Kentucky we know for sure that they've been here about 13,000 years. And there are, they've been in Franklin County. There's lots of evidence they were here, lots of different sites around town. But we want to give the intro on the culture and to dispel myths about Native American peoples and their history here. So that's what she's going to be doing.
Awesome. And that's in June.
And that's in June 8th.
Okay.
So
They have a lot of angles covered.
yeah, so
Yep.
many interesting topics. Diane, could we talk a little bit about the logistics of this? John mentioned it's the second Saturdays, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely. So starting in February, this will be the second Saturday of each month at the Paul Sawyer Library downtown at 319 Wapping Street. So that is starting February 10th. Every month, second Saturday, 1 o'clock, it will be in the River Room, which is our large meeting space there. We do ask that folks register. If you forget to register and you come, we're not going to turn you away, but we do ask that you register beforehand just so we can plan and know how many to expect.
It's polite.
Thank you.
RSVP, please.
Especially the people working on the chairs.
Sure. Yeah.
We want to be ready for you and
Sure.
have a seat for you. So we do ask that you register. Everyone is free. It's a free event. Everyone's welcome to come. All ages are welcome. You can register by calling the library, stopping by the library, or on our website at www.pspl.org, as in Paul Sawyer Public Library. Also, if you go onto our website, you can see we have a page dedicated to the series where you can read the descriptions, get the bios on the presenters, and learn a little bit more about them. And of course, all the dates are on there. We also have flyers at the library if you want to pick up one of those and put it on your fridge, because lots of great stuff coming up there.
Sure.
And this is just the spring season. We've got the fall coming up after that with. It's very exciting.
Even more.
Even more.
Right.
And John's done a great job with getting that variety. Harvey, you mentioned there's a lot of stuff. There's something for everyone.
Yeah.
So even if you're not interested in a certain month's topic, come the next month and it'll be something different. So.
And of course, you all are recording these and keeping
Yes.
them on your
Yeah.
website,
Well,
on
there
your
you go.
YouTube channel for us. So
Yes.
they are accessible. So if you can't make it one day, we have them for our posterity.
And those things are so important because, again, as we moving forward, people can look back and, again, some of these things you've talked about, I had no idea idea. And if I'm not able to come, I know that I can be able to access it at some point and get the
Absolutely.
And we're actually on the Frankfort Heritage Lecture Series page on the library's website. We are keeping a list of the past presenters, so all that information will be archived along with the links to your YouTube page where those videos live. So
Right, and the
out.
same at the frankfortheritageweek.com page as well.
Yep.
We've got a tab for lecture series, and you can see all the current lectures. And then there's a tab for past lectures, and you can click on those, and those have the videos posted as well.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, I know we appreciate, John, all the things you all are doing. Really, as far as Frankfort Heritage goes, I mean, you all are really putting information out there for us to learn. And again, just stuff that none of us ever knew, and now, you know, it's becoming exposed and shared, and that's what you guys are all about.
that's what we want to do. You know, you can't. We walk past things every day.
Yeah.
You know, how many times do we drive by the stone walls out the Forks of Elkhorn or
Right.
Peaks Mill and never think twice about it? But you know, those were
How long
built
they've
by
been there, yeah.
penitentiary inmates,
Yeah.
as particularly out in Peaks Mill, and everything that we look at and that we drive by has a story.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know, just kind of putting that back in people's,
Yeah.
the forefront of people's minds.
Yeah, it's very
And
interesting.
we really appreciate the reception we've gotten so far. Like John
Absolutely.
said, we've had a fantastic turnout, and we hope we will continue to do so. I think the word's getting out, so please share with your friends and family. We'd love to pack that room in February.
Absolutely.
All right, and we can't let you get out of here, Diane, without thanking the library
Absolutely,
again
yeah.
for all of the things that they provide our community, all of the services and the programs. We talk about them just at least 3 times a week here on our show.
We appreciate that so very much.
I think
Thank
I'm busy,
you.
and then I show up to events. Diane's always there.
Yeah, so again, thank you guys so much. We love our local library here, and
Thank you.
Good place to go on an NTI day if you.
Right.
Absolutely.
It is.
snow day
That's
activity.
a snow day activity.
Is that your favorite snow day activity?
If things are going on at home and you can't concentrate, go to the library.
There you
So,
go.
there you go.
Well, again, we thank you all so much for being here. We look forward to coming back and hearing about more stuff.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you so
Absolutely.
much.
Thanks, guys.